Hey friends, let's talk about some games. September represented quite a steep nosedive in terms of the amount of gaming activity that was happening. This was due to the fact that the kids returned to school, obviously in September, and I was also occupied with dealing with a very horrific personal situation, which is going to continue to take up some of my time going forward. But there were a handful of things that I did manage to get to, so let's cover those. First, I'll talk about the games acquired. And there was only really one new game acquired, and then a couple of sort of promo type of things. So the actual new game is one that we got for our 8-year-old's birthday. And this is a game called Crusoe Crew, which looks like a really unique and interesting game in that it's sort of like a choose-your-own-adventure cooperative game in graphic novel format, where each of the four of us are going to play a unique character with their own unique booklet. But the actual pictures in each person's booklet are basically the point of view of their particular character. So if you're playing a character who's very short in stature, what you see in your own individual booklet might look different than another tall character's perspective, even though the story is happening simultaneously to both characters. It sounds like a truly unique and interesting idea, and I'm hoping we're going to be diving into that in this upcoming week. So that is the Crusoe Crew, and hopefully I'll come back next month to talk about how it actually plays out. In terms of the two small items I managed to acquire this month, one was just a couple of sort of promo characters for Arcadia Quest. I got them from somebody who was selling them as used items, even though I don't think they were actually open, they were still in shrink. But it's always nice to have more characters for Arcadia Quest. And then the other thing, I am deeply, deeply shamed to admit that I finally purchased an individual Magic card. So I've always resisted spending money on a single card for Magic and instead have just purchased the booster packs and enjoyed the excitement of seeing what I happen to get. But the thing is that I have now created 20 of my own Magic decks, and it just so happened to work out that I had 19 unique Planeswalkers and a double copy of another Planeswalker, so I really wanted to have 20 unique Planeswalkers for my 20 decks. And one of the decks where I had a double was a white mana deck that was centered around cats as the creatures in the deck. So I went out and spent $5 on an Ajani Planeswalker card. And I'm quite happy with it. I don't regret the purchase, but I'm certainly not going to make a habit out of buying individual cards for my decks. In fact, I hardly ever buy Magic cards anymore now that I have that many unique decks to play with. And that's really it for games acquired, so let me clear the table of all these new games and start talking about the games that we played this month. Alright, phew, that job is done. Now, the first couple I'm going to talk about are games that I got from my local public library again, which has been great that they've been acquiring these really excellent modern board games that we're able to check out for a few weeks at a time and give them a try. So one of those games that I played with my wife as a two-player game was Istanbul, which is quite a popular game going back a few years, and we gave it a try, and I thought it was a really interesting game in the way it was designed. I wasn't super taken with the game in terms of the amount of enjoyment I got from it, as impressed as I was with the design of it. And part of that might have been due to the fact that we played the intro scenario, which was the short Roots version, and playing in that manner, it felt like that the way that the assistants were left on the board in order to move around and take the actions didn't really matter too much. You could pretty much get to where you wanted to go to do what you wanted to do, regardless of your assistant situation. So the one really kind of interesting mechanism that the game seemed to have been built around didn't come into play in a big way in the introductory scenario. It would have been more interesting perhaps to try one where the locations were spread out in a different manner so that you had to be more strategic in the way you planned out your movement. So it was a very cool game. I had fun, but it's not one I'm going to seek out to purchase by any means. Now, the one that was a bigger hit, especially with my 8-year-old boy, was a game called Junk Art, and that is a dexterity-based stacking game where you have all these very unique shaped pieces that you have to stack in various ways in order to accomplish various goals. Did I say it was my 8-year-old? It's actually my 9-year-old that really loved that game. My 8-year-old found it just a little bit uninteresting and kind of frustrating, but the 9-year-old just kept asking to get back to it again and again, and he really enjoyed that sort of stacking game mechanism. And I do too. I sort of enjoy those type of dexterity games that require some kind of balance and stacking and a very steady hand. I don't know if it's because of all those years I spent trying to get IVs on people in a bouncing, moving ambulance and that steady, very sharp focus that's required for that, but it's one that I did enjoy as well. In terms of other games that I got to with the 9-year-old, we got back to Nagaraja again, and again, it's one that I'm happy that he has requested a few times because it's a game that I enjoy quite a lot, as I've mentioned in previous months. And then we also played a little bit more of Skulk Hollow, and again, it's a game that I really want to play with a skilled adult gamer to get a true feel for the tactical nature of the game, to see if it's one that is interesting. When I play with the kids, it sort of tends to be a not very close game on one side or the other. I think we've been mostly seeing the giant elemental creatures winning the games over the Foxen team, and I'm not sure if that's because the Foxes require a more strategic approach or a little bit more care in exactly how they're played, but again, that's something I would be interested in exploring with an adult. I just don't know if I have an adult gamer who would enjoy this particular game. Regardless, the physical production of this game, like I said last month, is off the charts. Just really cool. And I got back to Indigo again with the kids. Played another game of connecting routes in order to gain gems. For what seems like years, I've been searching for a game of this nature that has a little more depth to it. And I hoped that I would find that in Whistle Stop. But neither my wife nor my primary gaming friend really enjoyed Whistle Stop. They found it to be slightly overwhelming with the sheer number of options you have with all the trains, all the tiles, and everything that's going on in the game. So I would really love to find a route building game that is sort of midway in complexity between Indigo and Whistle Stop, and I have explored several other options over the years but never found that exact sweet spot. However, in the meantime, Indigo is a very fun, light and quick playing version of that genre. I also played some more Magic with both of my boys, and they haven't really latched onto the game. My older boy, the 9-year-old, initially was really into it and was interested in trying out a lot of decks, but as time has gone by, he seems to have lost interest. And maybe it's not a bad thing that they're not super into this collectible card game and not wanting to be spending money on more and more packs. But I'm a little disappointed. I was having fun kind of exploring it with them. And it's not that they dislike it, they do enjoy the occasional game still. But of course, I've also continued my weekly Magic with my friend and continuing to really love that experience. And then the final game we got to, I left the box for it downstairs, but it's just basically Gloomhaven with the Forgotten Circles expansion. We got to the second scenario in Forgotten Circles, and again, you know, it's just such a great experience. The new expansion stuff is interesting. Still got to find time to paint those new characters. I'll get to that soon, I hope. And I would play it more if I had the time to devote to it. But that was it for September. The new to me games for the month were Istanbul, which I thought was a good game, not super exciting, and Junk Art, which was a huge hit with my 9-year-old, and one that I enjoyed quite a bit as well. And that was it. October has been pretty slow so far too, but this week I'm going away with the family for a few days to just a little kind of road trip getaway, so I'm hoping we're going to do a lot of family gaming over the next few days. And I'll come back to report on that next month. In the meantime, as always, I'm interested in hearing what you've been playing, what has been striking your fancy lately. I'm always eager to hear what good stuff is out there. The preceding video has been brought to you free of charge by me, Josh. The only thing I ask in return is that you could do one of the following. Give me a thumb up, push the subscribe button, or share the link to this video with somebody who you think would enjoy it. Cheers! Ow. This was mainly due to the fact, here are the very few things that I did, but the kid, Ink made me consider as a Christmas gift. Ink made me consider as a Christmas gift for. So I would really love to find a net. So I would really love to find a game that is. So I would really love to find a game that. So I would really love to find a game that sort of combines. Oh my God. I'm always